Good afternoon, everyone. Our message today is on the alliance that Ted Wilson made with the UN. And we have the information from the Adventist Review and also the Spectrum magazine. Now, the Adventist Review titles the story about it. It says, Adventist Church President holds first meeting with UN Chief. The other magazine article on the Spectrum says, Ted Wilson becomes first Adventist president to meet with UN Secretary General. Now, for those of you who follow prophecy and are watchmen on the walls and are aware that we are living in the last days, we know that this is really an unprecedented action that is not approved of and is basically the nail on the coffin, and the nail on the coffin for the Adventist Church, because we are not to make alliances or confederacies with the world. And if you know anything about the UN, this is the part that's the scariest part about it, is that the UN has an agenda. They have a one world, one religion, global agenda. So to meet with them in the first place, I know that the ADRA, I thought it was bad enough that the Seventh-day Adventists signed a pact with ADRA to help with the relief of nations through the United Nations. You can conduct and win souls without the United Nations. Now, the United Nations doesn't tell you what's behind the scenes and what are the things that they believe in, but I wanted to share with you that the philosophies of the UN. Now, if you go to Jesuit.org, that is the military branch of the Catholic Church that controls the world and pulls the strings and are the puppet masters of the whole world, basically. Their military operation, and we know that we have a Jesuit Pope. They are trying to rule the world, and so they do this in like behind the scenes. So we've pulled back the curtain today with some of the quotes from the UN so we can see what is their agenda. And you can go on YouTube and you can go and just look up some of these things that I'm going to be telling you. This whole thing is not going to be about the UN, but I just want you to know their Secretary General, I think he was 2 Secretary Generals ago, these are some of his quotes. So I'll read. His name is Robert Mueller, and he is considered the philosopher and the prophet of hope of the UN. And this is his quote. We must move as quickly as possible to a one world government, a one world religion, under a one world leader. This is another quote. Peace will be impossible without the taming of fundamentalism through a united religion that professes faithfulness only to the global spirituality and to the health of this planet. And so here he's talking about the taming fundamentalism, because they don't believe that you should be an individual or that you should be separate. The world should all be together, and we should all work towards peace, which all of us, of course, want peace, but we know what the Bible says. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes. So for the Seventh-day Adventist president, Ted Wilson, to meet with this agency is a sign to you. Okay, it is a great sign. This is another quote from Robert Mueller, who was the UN Secretary General. It says, "My great personal dream is to get a tremendous alliance between all the major religions and the UN." So here we have the church, Seventh-day Adventist Church, with 18 million members, now in alliance, a major religion in alliance with the UN. this is a big coup. And this man, Robert Mueller, he also created the World Core Curriculum, and he's the father of global education. If you look on Jesuit.org, you can see that they're aligned with UNESCO, they're aligned with the United Nations, and they want to bring a framework for world media coverage. That is their quote. They want to educate the world, so that's why they have Common Core. That comes from Jesuit.org. And they say we must steer our child toward global citizenship. A World Core Curriculum is underlying. This man, Robert Mueller, was a student, of Alice A. Bailey, which we know she's the one who was the founder of the Lucifer Trust, but they changed the name to Lucis Trust because Lucifer, of course, that would give off too many red flags. Let me go ahead and also tell you, let me get on my computer here. I'll tell you a little bit more. Okay, just to let you know, St. Francis of Assisi was Robert Mueller's, he aspired his writings, and St. Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of the United Nations, of whom was also the patron saint of Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit order, of whom also Giorgio Bergoglio is named after, St. Francis. So this Francis is, I would say like a mascot of the United Nations. Now, if you look into the United Nations, they believe they have occultic foundations. The person who was very, instrumental in the UN's philosophies was Alice Bailey, and she got her philosophies from Madame Blavatsky, and they were spiritualists. So they believe in, everything's okay, everybody love each other, let's just love each other. But really that's what they say, and what they want to do is make you conform to whatever they say. This one world government. And they have, in their writings that I looked on the UN's website, they have an agenda for after 2015. It says after 2015, the millennium, and they believe in a new age. A new age is beginning after 2015. It says, their website, you can go to UN, it says, we must work closely together to make this year of global action one that will be remembered as the dawn of a new era of sustainable development. They keep using that word, sustainable development. That way that you can believe that they're all about saving the earth, and they'll do anything to save the earth. And so it's an oxymoron actually, because the people who are aligned with the UN are not trying to save the earth, but they're using that as a weapon so that they can tell you what to do. Okay, so I just wanted you to know that the Seventh-day Adventist Church, through Ted Wilson, he's clasped his hands with Lucifer and the one world religion, because the Lucis Trust is their, what they call non-GO, non-government organization that's affiliated with them, and their beliefs are Luciferian beliefs. And this is not a small thing that the Adventist president has done. And let me ask you a question, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist. If he is supposed to be your representative, of the SDA organization, why didn't you know about this? Why hasn't there been some kind of ask the people if they want to become part of the one world religion, one world order, the UN agenda, the sustainable development? Did they ask you if you wanted to be a part of that? Does that have anything to do with the Messiah, Yasha, coming back to bring his people? No, but it sure does have they have what they call, they're waiting for Alice Bailey talked about the coming one. So their religion is about this coming one, and they're in cahoots with the Jesuits, and the Jesuits own one of the biggest observatories in Arizona called the Lucifer Observatory, or the Lucifer telescope is what it is. And they are looking for the coming one. And so you guys really have to see that when the United Nations clasps hands with the Seventh-day Adventist Church saying that they want to basically make sure that, you know, religious freedom is upheld. They're talking about religious freedom and peace. Now, when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes. Now, I want you to look with me, if you want to open your Bibles, we're going to be going to Isaiah 8. And let me find it. Okay, it says, "Moreover, the Yah said unto me, Take thee a great roll, and write in it with a man's pen concerning Maher-shalal-Hash-baz." Now, this word Maher-shalal-Hash-baz is a word that means to be safe, finish, restore, deliver, hurry, and spoil and plunder. So this is going to tell you what is about to happen because of this alliance. It says, "The Lord," which we know that's the Yah spoke also unto me again, saying, For as much as this people refuses the waters of Shiloh that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son." So the people, the SDA people that refuse the waters of Shiloh that go softly. So when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, it's softly, and it's giving you truths. It's telling you that we're in the last days, and that the people that are running the SDA church are running it into the ground, and that evil people have come in. You could look at Jude chapter, there's only one chapter, but it's verse 4, and says that evil men crept in unawares. So here we see that in Isaiah 8, it's talking about the people refuses the water that goes softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son. Now therefore, behold, the Yah bringeth up upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria and all his glory, and he shall come up over his channels and go over his banks. And he shall pass through Judah, he shall overflow and go over, he shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of thy land, O Emmanuel. It says, "Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces. And give ear, and ye of far countries, gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourself, and ye shall be broken in pieces." So it says, "Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for Yah is with us. For the Yah spake thus unto me with a strong hand, instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not a confederacy. To all them to whom this people shall say, A confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify the Yah of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall stumble, and fall, and be broken, and be snared, and be taken. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples." So here when it says, if you associate yourselves with this confederacy, which is the UN, united is a confederacy, United Nations. If we confederate with them, we are going, those who don't break away will be taken and snared and broken, and they'll stumble. So we were not to associate ourselves with this confederacy, and they did it anyway. And did they ask you? No, they didn't. But I want to let you know that you could see the signs of this about to happen. They've been doing step and step and step into darkness. And so we are not to make a confederacy with the world. And join clasp hands with the Luciferian religion or one world religion, where they say, let's just put all our differences aside and just go on the common good, the common goals. Because really that means now you can't say anything about homosexuality. Now you can't say anything about women being ordained. Now you can't say anything about anything, really, basically, because that would be separating yourselves. And one of the things that they do not tolerate is separation or individual thinking. And so that's out the window when you make an alliance. And you someone said to me that it's okay, it's a good initiative, okay, because they have good intent. So if somebody comes to you and they're wearing a nice suit and they're wearing, let's say, a $1,000 suit, and they're smiling and they're shaking your hand and they're telling you, let's just associate, and the only thing is, don't say anything about any of these differences that we have, just say the things that we have in common, and they smile at you and they shake your hand, does that make them somebody that you should associate with just because they look right and they're wearing fancy clothes and they've got the right words? You need to know if they're dressed up as a shepherd to the Seventh-day Adventist Church and they're actually a hireling, because only a hireling would put his sheep at peril and be like, well, you know, let me make these alliances, it's okay. People, you need to look up the UN and the association that it has with the Luciferian religion. I won't say anything more about the UN now, but what I want to do is take you to Daniel chapter 5. Let's go there and let's read what this means to the SDA church. Basically, this is what is going on with the SDA church. Belshazzar, this is the whole chapter of Daniel 5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of Yah, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. And the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against the other. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed in scarlet, and have a chain of gold about his neck, and he shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then came all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was the king Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet house. And the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. There is a man in the kingdom who is the spirit of the holy gods, and in the days of thy father light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar thy father, the king, I say, the father made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. So here we see that they were having a feast, and they used the vessels of the sanctuary to drink wine out of. They were drinking, and and praising the gods of gold, of silver, of iron, wood, and of stone. And all of a sudden, this hand came out and wrote something on the wall. And so then he calls all the wise men, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, everybody that he can think of in his kingdom that are supposed to give the interpretation of what this hand wrote on the wall. Now, make a note that the hand wrote right by the candlestick that belonged to the vessels and that belonged to the sanctuary, because the candlestick is important, and when the candlestick's out, there's no light to the sanctuary. And so the Seventh-day Adventist Church right now has no light. Why? Because they've refused it. And when you refuse light, you have darkness. And this is what they start doing. They start feasting and like, hey, we've got 18 million people. We're great. We have everything we need. Let's make alliances with the world and brag about it and just be so happy and lackadaisical about it. And so what happened was that the Yah writes on the wall. And let's continue reading. So he calls for those people, and they can't give him the understanding. Okay, let's go to. So the queen says, "There is a man in thy kingdom in whom the spirit of the holy gods, and in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him." So when Yah chooses a prophet, a messenger, a child of Yah, to give the secrets, to give interpretations, to give light and knowledge, he's the only one who Yah is speaking to. So let's continue. Then was Daniel brought, okay, it says, interpreting, okay, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences and dissolving of doubts were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. Then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which art the children of the captivity of Judah? So right now, we are the children of captivity. If you go to Revelation, you know that Babylon, the harlot with Mystery Babylon written on her forehead, she sits upon 7 heads, and those heads are captive by Rome. So we are the children of captivity, about to be set free though. Okay, so art thou that Daniel, which art the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? Also, we are modern Israel. We are from the Hebrews, the Jews. I have ever heard of thee that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shalt be the 3rd ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high Yah gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom. So before he gives him the interpretation, he starts telling him the history of his father, because his father also had an incident, and we'll go into that right now. O thou king, the most high Yah gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him, whom he would slew, and whom he would kept alive, and whom he would set up, and whom he would put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High Yah ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. O thou his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thine heart, thou knewest all this. So he tells them, your father was also a king, and he put himself above the Yah, and he had pride, and he had to bring him down, just like a beast of the wilderness. And he hadn't humbled his heart. And he says, and you haven't humbled your heart. Even you knew this story. So you can know the past, you can know the history, and you can still think that you're above what Yah has for his people. And you can do your own thing to the church and lead the people towards an alliance, a worldly alliance, and then sit and have these big conferences and act like everything's okay, which is about to happen in San Antonio 2015 at the GC. They're going to boast and brag and say how great they're doing and everything that they've accomplished. You can look at their website on what they did in San Antonio so far, and they're bragging about how much literature they gave out. So let's continue. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thy heart, though thou knewest all this, but has lifted up thyself against the Yah of heaven, which this is what Ted Wilson has done. The Yah never told him to make an alliance with the UN to continue and to spread the gospel with a Luciferian association. Okay. But hast lifted up thyself, the Yah of heaven. They have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and the lords, thy wives and thy concubines, have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold and brass, iron, wood and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the Yah in whose hand thy breath is, and whose all are thy ways, hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, Yah hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Peres, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. That night, after he had drunk and thought he was merry, he was slain. In that very same hour, judgment came to Belshazzar. And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. I want you to look at what Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin means. The interpretation is this: Mene, Yah hath numbered thy kingdom. Do you know what that means in today's language? That means he's numbered the 144,000. They are the kingdom. Yah has set them aside. This is a prophecy, a parable inside of a story that we are about to see happen. And they are about to be slaughtered. The Ezekiel 9. All Shepherd's Rod people know about the Ezekiel 9. And believe it or not, Seventh-day Adventist, the Shepherd's Rod is a message to the church. It's one message, as Ellen G. White had a message, and there's messages and messages given until the universe is at rest. So to think that once Ellen G. White died, like the Seventh-day Adventist Church proclaims, there is nobody, that's not true. Yah wouldn't do that. He sends a prophet for every generation, and we're in the fourth generation, the fourth watch of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. There was a watch in Ellen G. White's day, there was a watch in Hoddif's day, there was a watch in from 1968 to 2014, and we are in the last watch, the fourth generation, the one that doesn't sleep. If you read Mark, I want to say it's Mark 12, somewhere out there, where Yasha tells his disciples to watch and to pray, and they fall asleep 3 times. Why? Because their flesh is weak. Their flesh is weak because each generation cannot last over 70 years or so. And so there's 4 generations of the SDA church. We're in the last one where we do not sleep because his hour comes. Now, first of all, he numbers the kingdom. So that's the 144,000. That's a number of a kingdom. And he has chosen his people, and he has put a mark on them, as Ezekiel 9 says, the mark of Yah on them, because they have been sighing and crying of the abominations that this church has been doing. And let me tell you, it didn't just start 10 years ago. I have a pamphlet written by an SDA who wrote it in the 1950s, talking about all the abominations they were doing back in their day. It's only gotten worse, and I have quotes from Ellen G. White on that too. In Series B, I don't know if I have it right here, but I will, if anyone wants those quotes where she says it just keeps getting worse and worse, I'll give you that. So let's continue with Daniel 5. This is the interpretation of the thing. Yah hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. It's finished because of what you have done. Ted Wilson of the SDA Church. Your father did wrong, and now you're doing wrong. This is the exact same type and antitype that happens to the SDA Church. Let's continue. Thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. That's Tekel. Paris, the kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persian. Divided between the sheep and the goats. Those who think that it's okay to do whatever you want to, whenever you want to, and not follow the Yah. And people think you're following the law by keeping the Sabbath. There's way more that has been given to the church, understanding how to clean how the sanctuary is cleansed, which was to be done in 1844. The restoring of true worship was to come to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they've refused it. They refuse light when it comes. That's one of the things that Ellen G. White says about the SDA Church, that the reason why no light comes to them anymore is because they refuse the light they were already given. Do you think that Ellen G. White was the last prophet to the SDA Church? He doesn't work that way. He says, I am the Yah, I change not. He's always given a prophet. He went from prophet to prophet to prophet, giving truths until the very universe is at rest. And we are not at rest, so there's still messages to come. And understanding, no one out there understands all the things that are written. Only Yah chooses a servant to give the understanding of the writings. And so to say that you have a private interpretation is not going to work for Yah. Okay, so we see that this says they are found in the balances and are found wanting. Let's look at what the one prophet that the SDA Church will listen to. This is the only one everybody will listen to, not knowing that there has been other prophets sent to the SDA Church. Okay, the church cannot measure herself by the world, nor by the opinion of men, nor by what she once was. Her faith and her position in the world as they are now must be compared with what they would have been if her course had been continually onward and upward. So the SDA Church is going to be measured on what she could have been if she would have moved upward and onward. More light, more light, more light. So if she had continually been moving upward and onward and upward, the church will be weighed in the balances of the sanctuary. So here we see that this story is what we are giving you today. Mene, Tekel, Upharsin, weighed in the balances and found wanting and numbered. Okay, there's a numbered people. SDA Church stopped preaching about the 144,000, even though it was Ellen G. White's first vision was about the 144,000. And she says the closing work for the SDA Church is the sealing of the 144,000. So the light has been shining clear. Okay, if her moral character and spiritual state do not correspond with the benefits and blessings Yah has conferred upon her, she will be found wanting. The light has been shining clear and definite upon her pathway, and the light of 1882 calls her to an account. If her talents are unimproved, now let me tell you, a talent is a measurement of money. And to Yah, the only thing that has any value is truth. So to increase a talent is to accept the truth and accept the next truth. That's another talent. Accept another truth. That's another talent. So if you believe that we had the messages of the three angels' message, understand that he gave understanding of the fourth angel's message and of the fifth angel's message. Look in early Word to the Little Flock, page 11. It talks about 5 angels' messages, not 3, 5. More light. So a talent is 3 angels' messages, 4 angels' messages, 5th angel's message, the sanctuary message, the name of Yasha, the name of Yah, continually adding talent to talent to talent. If her talents are unimproved, if her fruit is not perfect before Yah, how do you become perfect? Wait a minute. The SDA church right now is saying that there's nothing you can do. You cannot become perfect. Nothing you can do to gain salvation. But this says, if you do not have the fruits of perfection, okay? If her light has become darkness, she is indeed found wanting. When you go to the SDA church, which many of you do, many people have written to me telling me and complaining to me how their church is doing crazy things in the sanctuary, turning down the lights, or dancing, or drums, or rock and roll, or spiritual formation, which is a Catholic doctrines being taught in our church. So they are going to be found wanting. The knowledge of our state as Yah views it seems to be hidden from us. Like, oh, we don't know. We're fine. Everything's fine. We don't need to leave the church. Stay here. Just keep going. We're doing great. We have 18 million people. Has Yah ever worked with the most numbers, or does he work with a small amount of people? He can work with only 8 people and save the world. He can work with one person, Noah. So let's continue. The knowledge of our state as Yah views it seems to be hidden from us. We see but perceive not. So you guys don't perceive. We hear but we do not understand. And we rest as unconcerned as if the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night rested upon our sanctuary. It's okay. We don't have nothing to worry about. We're being protected by Yah. We profess to know Yah and to believe the truth, but in works deny him. We don't even know what works means. We think it means going out and having pathfinders or singing out at old folks' home to people who don't even want the truth. Yet you yourself are lacking in not understanding what works are. Okay? Our deeds are directly adverse to the principles of truth and righteousness, but by which we profess to be governed. So here she says, we are weighed in the balances of the sanctuary and found wanting. The same thing as Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. That's the SDA church. I want to read a couple of other things about Ellen G. White, what she says. She says, I was confirmed in all I had stated in Minneapolis, that a reformation must go through the churches. Reforms must be made, for spiritual weakness and blindness were upon the people, who have been blessed with great light and precious opportunities and privileges. As reformers, they had come out of the denominational churches, but they now act a part similar to what the churches acted. We hope that there would not be the necessity for another coming out. So she's saying that because of the Reformations and things like that, she was talking about the churches are not doing what they need to do. Maybe we might have had a necessity of coming out again. So here's another quote. Of those who boast of their light and yet fail to walk in it, Messiah says, but I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, Seventh-day Adventists who have had great light, which art exalted into heaven in point of privilege, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. So she's saying that the SDA church, because they have light, but they fail to walk in it, they will be brought down to hell. So here's another one. That's Last Day Events, page 48. This is another one. The church is in the Laodicean state. The presence of Yah is not in her midst. She says this in A New Life, Revival and Beyond, and also Last Day Events, page 49. So the presence of Yah is not in her midst, but yet you want to go to church there. There is a place for you to go in this time, and it's the flock of Sharon. It's the fourth feeding flock. We're in the fourth watch. There's a fourth child giving inspirational messages that Yah gives. And there is more light. There will be more light until the end of time. And this confederacy that Isaiah 8 says, say ye not a confederacy. Do not confederate with the world. Do not confederate with evil. Do not confederate with the Luciferian organization. And you guys need to wake up that there's 144,000 numbered out of this kingdom, because they're sighing and crying against all the abominations. Read Ezekiel 9. And that will be the end of this message. Just want you to know that Ted Wilson has done the same thing as his father. Same as we read here in Daniel. Belshazzar, the king's son, didn't see that his father went down the wrong road, and now he's going down the wrong road, and that kingdom is over. The kingdom of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is over, and we can find that, I think it's Isaiah 65. He gives them a new name, and the new name is Yasharon, and it means righteous. Look up the Hebrew meanings in the Strong's Concordance, and you can see that it means upright, righteous, straight. And to find out how to be righteous, come to our website, timesandlaws.wordpress.com, and to know what real works are. Those works. What is the sanctuary? If we're weighed in the balances of the sanctuary, we need to know how to avail ourselves of the sanctuary truths. Not the way that it was done in the Old Testament, but in a new and living way of Hebrews. So I will leave you with this message, that continue to look for more light. We're in the fourth feeding flock. The name is Yasharon. It means straight, right. It means straight. And the shar part in the middle, Yah, shar, on. It originally was Jeshurun, but we know there's no J and there's no E, so it's Yasharon. It's the flock of Sharon. And this is where the truths are coming, where the 144,000 will gather all together with their new name. And he's not going to keep this a secret from his people. And this may sound really like you've never heard this before, but this is the same thing that happened in what you guys call Jesus. His name is not Jesus, it's Yasha. Jesus is a Zeus. It means Zeus. And in his day, Ellen G. White says in the Mount of Blessings that they had never heard anything. It was strange and new, but they knew that they had authority from the Holy Spirit in Yasha. They knew they were hearing the truth. Even though it was strange and new, and they never heard it before. You've never heard this before, that there's going to be a new name, and that name is Yasharon, which means the straight gate. It says, enter ye in at the straight gate, and Yasharon means straight gate. He's giving you clues, people. He wants you to be saved. He wants you to come out, be separate, come out of the kingdom that's about to fall, because these men have taken this ship into the wrong place, and people think that you weren't supposed to come out, but Ellen G. White said she was thinking about a second coming out. She wasn't afraid to move to where the truth was. So we leave you with this. Don't stay with Ted Wilson and his clasping his hands with Lucifer. I have another quote. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. What Ted Wilson says, that they don't have the Urim and the Thummim, and they don't have a prophet. When you don't have a prophet, it says the people who no vision, the people perish. If there's no vision, well, that vision in prophecy means a prophet. Well, there's no vision, the people perish. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the TED quote. It is in here somewhere. Oh, maybe it's around here because, see this. I know this is taking a couple of minutes. I should have had it ready, but I didn't think I was going to go to this quote. But anyway, if you want the quote, I would be glad to send it to you. And it's just saying that Ted Wilson says that we don't have a prophet. He says we don't have the Urim, we don't have a Thummim, we don't have a prophet. But so if they don't have a prophet, they don't have Urim and Thummim, what are they doing? You know what he says they do? They go to the people and take a vote. Since when have you known that the people rule the world and give the answers to what Yah wants? Only Yah is the one who you should go to. He's the one who has the prophecies. He's the one who's telling the world where to go. He's the one who gives them the light. So he's asking you to follow him. So thank you so much for listening, and look forward to our next message, and go to our timesandlaws.wordpress.com.